Nothing, and I mean nothing, rivals the speed, prestige, and head turnability of a supercar. They represent the pinnacle of what a car can be, and I don't know anyone that wouldn't want to own one. But here's the issue. They are really freaking expensive. But what if I were to tell you that you could actually own a supercar for cheap though? At least cheap compared to new supercars. In fact, we put together a list of supercars that you can buy for less than the cost of a new Dodge Hellcat. What's up guys? This is Brad with Ideal, and today we're gonna be talking about 7 amazing supercars, plus one honorable mention that can be yours for less than 60 grand. All right, you ready? Buckle up, and let's go. But first, if you're like us, you're always looking for good deals on Ideal cars. Well, then do what we do and use Cars.com, who happens to be the sponsor of today's video. And so I've linked to our favorite cheap supercars using Cars.com down in the description. So definitely go check them out. And there's not one, but 2 reasons it's our favorite. First, the online user interface is best in class and so easy to use that even our friend Squid can use it. And second, the app is always on my phone. And so anytime I'm on the go, I never miss a good deal. So click the links down in the description and first comment to our favorite Ideal cars. And remember, the next time that you or your friend is looking for an Ideal car, truck, or SUV, use Cars.com to find your next match. And thank you Cars.com for sponsoring today's video. Now, back to the show. Okay, real talk for a second. Most of these cars are not a good idea to buy. And if you want supercar performance at a good price that won't break down on you and cost you your life savings just to maintain, you're probably best off going with a good old-fashioned Corvette, not a supercar. However, if any supercar comes close to the practicality of a Vet, it's this first one on our list, the iconic Audi R8. So yeah, if you were a
genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist,
what would you drive? Well, if Iron Man is any indication whatsoever, it would be the Audi R8. Now, down in the sub $60,000 range, you're gonna be looking at one of the older R8s, and it's gonna have a few miles on them. And here's a perfect example, an 08 that we found on Cars.com for just 55 large. And get this guys, that car costs roughly $170,000 when new. And truthfully, the R8 actually has the reputation of being one of the most reliable supercars that you can buy. So it's really not even that big of a risk, which is a good thing because that's totally unlike the next car on our list. A car that's synonymous with depreciation and unreliability. Yeah, you know we're talking about the Maserati Gran Turismo. And there are 2 things that Maseratis are known for. The first, they have Ferrari engines that sound oh so good. And second is that they lose value faster than a printer without ink. That first part though is very cool. And in my opinion, the Ferrari built F136 engine makes the Maz the best sounding car on this list. And yes, I know I'm wrong, but let us know down in the comments as to why. What is your favorite sounding supercar? Because the second thing that these vehicles are known for is why you could afford one. And this just couple-year-old Gran Turismo Sport is the newest car on our list, and it went for over 150 grand new. Now, 60K will get you in the seat of this silver Gran Turismo Sport. And even though the inside feels like it's from 1980, the outside of it though is really easy on the eyes. But what if you were a little bit more adventurous and you were willing to take a bit of a risk? Well, for $29,000 redos, you could have an 09 Maserati Gran Turismo, and that is just straight up insane. That's the same price as a used Civic. And you could rip that motor out and make a Ferrari-powered go-kart. And heck, you'd still be on top of the financial game. Just be sure that you're really good friends with someone that owns a shop, or you just have the extra funds to pay for the expensive and frequent repairs. Honestly though, That '09 Maz is the cheapest car on our list. And so, I mean, you could buy a lot of repairs with the money that you saved. And the next car on our list is actually paying homage to one of the best looking cars ever built, and a favorite of a certain British spy. We're talking about the Aston Martin V8 Vantage. And if you're enjoying this video so far, be sure to smash that like button and check out some of the listings that we link to on cars.com down in the description. Because the V8 Vantage made its silver screen debut all the way back in 1987. And it was driven by none other than James Bond. And now, 34 years later, the modern V8 Vantage is one of the best value supercars that you can get. And here you go, laid out on a silver platter. Here's a 13 for $56,000. And this secret agent has 430 horsepower of pure British luxury. Plus it costs less than a new Lincoln Navigator. And I know which one I'd rather have. How about you? Well, I do hear some of your complaints because the V8 Vantage will never be as fast as its V12 siblings. And even though that 4.7 liter dual overhead cam V8 is reliable by supercar standards, that auto shift transmission leaves a lot to be desired. Worse is that transmission has a mechanical problem, and not even Aston Martin's willing to work on them. So good luck. And if you want something that has bulletproof reliability, supercar prestige and performance, and comes with that important manual transmission, well, consider the humble Ariel Atom. I got a question for you. What happens when you take a car and remove everything that's unnecessary? Well, the answer is you get the Ariel Atom. And when it first hit the market in 2003 with a supercharged Honda motor, it quickly developed a reputation for being a face-distorting monster.
That accelerates so fast!
It's so quick, it can destroy your entire face.
And I can already hear you saying, a four-cylinder on my supercar list? Yeah, you better believe it. Because while you might argue it's not a supercar for some reason, it's hard to argue with the fact that it's one of the fastest around the Top Gear track. And it's one of the fastest cars on our list. And they don't come up for sale that often, but we've seen them sell for less than 40 grand. And they pretty much will outrun anything on the street, especially a similarly priced Maserati. Also, completely unlike the Maserati, the Atom's power plant is a Honda Civic engine. And maintenance is a breeze because, well, there's no body in the way. And I bet you'll sleep easy at night knowing that you have Honda reliability. Now, an Ariel doesn't carry the weight of a traditional supercar though. So if you want something that will invoke some envy from others, maybe a Ferrari is more your speed. And Maserati's claim to fame are that, well, they're powered by Ferrari. But you know what else is powered by a Ferrari? Well, a Ferrari. Who would have thought, right? Just one problem. Ferraris are well known for being too expensive to buy. That is, unless they're a little bit older. And the 456 has entered the chat. It was the car to own between 1992 and 2003. And that's because it had a fantastic screaming V12 and that all-important prancing horse on the badge. There's not a person alive that wouldn't turn and look at you as you drove by in this thing. And yes, it's not super fast by today's standards, but when it came out, it was one of the most powerful Ferraris ever built. And we found not one, but two of them that were less than the price of a Hellcat. And which one would you rather have? A muscle car that some people might call a supercar, or a car that is definitely a supercar? Just one problem. This thing has 12 spark plugs, so it's definitely gonna do something to your bank account when you have to get those things changed. So what if you want something that has the performance to hang with the Ferraris, and it's way more comfortable than the Atom, but it's still reliable? Well, let's bring out the crowd favorite, the Nissan GTR. For some reason, whether or not the GTR is a supercar is a hill people are willing to die on. But you know who calls it a supercar? Nissan. They call it the supercar that you can drive every single day. So go argue with them instead of flaming the comments, because no one can argue the numbers that it puts down. The all-wheel drive GTR makes more horsepower than everything else on this list, and is one of the most drivable supercars that you can get, because the tech built into this thing pretty much corrects all the mistakes that you make. It's honestly a little disorienting. The GTR is gonna do 0 to 60 in 3.2 seconds, and they drive like a Nissan 370Z that's been tamed. The biggest downside is that the GTR is old now, because it came out in 2008 and has pretty much been identical ever since. Plus, the Secret has been out for a very long time. So not only is it kind of old, but a lot of the deals have been snatched up already. Still, we found one for 56 grand, which is not bad at all when you consider it's one of the best cars ever produced. Wait a minute, you hear that? It must be that time of the day for the honorable mention, because we think the C8 Corvette is a supercar. It makes a ton of power, it's mid-engine, and definitely looks more exotic than any American car has the right to look. However, even though they are a great value, they still cost a lot of money. So what if I told you you could have a mid-engine Corvette that looks even more radical for less than 1/3 the price? Well, you can. You just have to build it yourself. Factory 5 is one of the most popular kit car makers out there, partially because they pride themselves on being easy to build, and the GTM is their highest performing model. Under the hood, you have a 400 horsepower LS6 located behind the driver. The GTM will slay pretty much anything else that dares show up at the same track day. Just be ready to source a lot of used parts and get some friends to help you, because it's a serious undertaking. All right, and while we're talking about GMs, well, at least a Frankenstein GM, the next car on our list is also a GM product. It's a Cadillac. And before you click off this video, because, well, you probably haven't heard about the XLRV, which is a strange beast. And you probably should. It's one of the most exclusive Cadillacs ever produced, and one of the best handling on the road. In fact, if it wasn't for the Northstar motor, it would be one of the best Cadillacs ever made. And so what's wrong with the Northstar V8, you ask? It's not the power. Honestly, the supercharged 443 horsepower is more than enough to earn a spot on this list. The problem is that the Northstar is a terrible motor to maintain, and they have this really bad habit of self-destructing, which I've been told is bad. Just imagine for a moment, if you had the cojones to put an LS motor in this. I know Chevy has this rule where nothing can be better than a Corvette, but I think that this car specifically could have been one of the best GMs ever built, instead of a Cadillac that no one has ever heard of. Missed potential aside, there isn't a thing about the XLRV that isn't exclusive, and you're gonna turn heads as you drive around town. People associate Cadillac with success, and they will believe you paid way more for this car than you did, especially since here's one for just $35,000. And I love the styling. I think it looks like some cross between a Mercedes and a Corvette. And as much as us car guys don't think too much about Cadillac, most people still think Caddy is a premium brand, and you'll look like a baller rolling through town. So that's our list. Click on the links down in the description, and also let us know in the comments which one you really don't think is a supercar. Or let us know which one we missed, because I'm sure there's some pretty good deals out there right now that didn't make it on this list. Also, please subscribe. No, seriously, please subscribe. We're trying to get to 1 million and more subscribers, and you could be one of the people that help us get there. Also, if you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button. I'm Brad Danger, this is Ideal, and keep living the ideal lifestyle.